You're listening to Let's Talk Pricing, your connection to the voices, stories, and strategies shaping the pricing world. Each episode, we go beyond theory into the practical, timely conversations that help you lead with confidence and drive results. Let's start the show.
Very good day, everyone, and welcome back to the Let's Talk Pricing podcast, where we explore the ideas, the strategies, and the new innovations that shape pricing, revenue management, sales enablement, and related fields. So I'm very excited about today's conversation. We're going to be talking about a new frontier in pricing, and that is artificial intelligence. AI is still largely misunderstood by a lot of our members worldwide, but we have some great information coming today. I'm very happy that we are joined by Mr. George Boretos. George is the founder and CEO of FutureUP. He has been at the forefront of applying predictive AI to pricing and optimization. George has worked with Fortune 500 companies from across the globe. He's raised millions in AI funding, and he has been recognized as a top 50 thought leader in AI and a top voice in predictive analytics. George is also a very great partner with Professional Pricing Society, of course, and he has a very exciting new online pricing course with us that's called the AI in Pricing Paradox, an opportunity for first movers. So we're going to talk about the paradox. We're going to talk about timing. We're going to talk about how pricing professionals and revenue managers can take practical steps to get ahead. But first of all, a very nice welcome to our guest for today's Let's Talk Pricing podcast, Mr. George Boretos. George, how are you today, sir?
I'm great, and Kevin and everyone, thanks for the invitation. Really excited to be here today and discuss.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have a few questions for you. And of course, for me personally, when I see people at our events and they ask me about AI, I have to admit that I'm a student as well, and I have a lot to learn. So we've got a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to some great insights here. But first of all, can you tell us a little bit about your journey? How did you come to focus on this great intersection or great Venn diagram overlap between artificial intelligence and pricing, and what has inspired your teaching around this and your work in these areas?
Okay, how much time do you have? Because it's a long journey, because it started 30 years ago. And I had two parallel journeys, one for AI and one for pricing, and eventually they converged. So with AI, I've started in the university where I studied AI, some ancient programming languages back then. They're not used anymore, unfortunately. And nobody was talking about AI. It wasn't popular, but I loved it. And I've seen it growing and eventually becoming what it's now. It's been mainstream and so on and so forth. I've used it continuously as a business executive initially, quite successfully in several initiatives, and then I became a startupper the past almost 10 years now. I've launched, as you said, 3 startup companies, and I've used AI a lot in all these companies. They were AI-based companies. So that was my AI part of the journey. And then there is the pricing part, which started almost at the same time, actually, with my MBA. So I've just finished my software engineering diploma. And then I decided that I needed to open up my horizons. I didn't know a lot about business, but I thought that would be a nice direction to follow. So I did my MBA in Imperial College in London. And we had a marketing professor there, a great guy. And he said many great things, but one of the case studies that he shared, I remember it even now, and it had to do with pricing. It was a story about a price war, even before the time that I've studied. And it was a price war between Shell and other petrol companies. And what happened is what usually happens in price wars. Prices declined, margins declined, and everybody was following each other, decreasing prices again and again, and nobody was happy about that. And there was a product manager back then in Shell, and he decided to check a bit, to do some number crunching and check price elasticities, Shell against competitors. And eventually he found that they had less elastic prices and demand against their competitors. So he suggested, and they did that. They stopped decreasing prices. And actually they started slightly increasing them instead. And what happens afterwards? They stopped the price war. Everybody followed eventually, and in the end, they won the price war. They had better profitability, and they retained their market share. For me, that was a great lesson. By the way, rumor said that our professor was that product manager. I never confirmed that, but it was
Oh,
something
wow.
that was being said. Possibly it's true, I don't know. But for me, it was a great lesson because that day I really understood the power of pricing and also the power of numbers. And this led afterwards my entrepreneurial endeavors, my 3 startups, all involved in pricing as well. And eventually this led to the creation of FutureUP, which is a dedicated company in AI-based price optimization. So this is the journey.
Excellent. That's quite a journey. And I love the story that you mentioned from your Imperial College, from your professor there. And I think that's a great example of how there was one person with the insights necessary, with the business acumen, using game theory and using the analytics and using all of the skills there. And when he stopped that price war, he probably saved his company and also his competitors. He probably saved a lot of jobs in that industry as well, because as we know, price wars can really depress an entire industry and cause a lot of people their jobs. So if it was your professor, then he or she is a hero or a heroine for probably saving a lot of jobs. Whoever that individual was, of course, that's a great lesson. And I love your background when you talked about your software background, and I probably go back a few languages as well. I think I remember being a basic programmer when I was in high school, believe it or not. Of course, that's not used anymore. At least I hope it's not. But I love the background of pricing people sometimes, where we come from different fields and we take all of these knowledge experiences that we have and combine them in order to move forward there. So I think that that's great. Thanks for the explanation of the background there. So another question for you here. You refer to a paradox a lot. Your course with us has the word paradox in the title. We talk about the paradox in AI, artificial intelligence, and pricing. So please tell us a little bit more about that paradox and why it is important for pricing professionals to understand everything that's going on right now.
Well, it is a paradox and initially it confused me as well when I've discovered it. And it has to do with the following. If you search around and find studies about the value of AI-based price optimization, for instance, you will find great things and a lot of evidence to support it. For instance, Gardner says that among all the other AI applications in business, the commercial part of business, price optimization is the best one, the most valuable, and the most feasible one. So it's there, you can use it, and it's very, very valuable. So I thought that most companies would have done something about it. And we did a survey with a highly acclaimed value-based selling and pricing expert, Steve Laborda, and his company Value-Based Booster. We did a survey last year to identify several things. Among these things was also the adoption of different AI technologies in companies, and we're surprised because AI price optimization had the smaller adoption rate and not the largest one. And that's the paradox, because you see a reversed relationship between the value of these technologies and the adoption. And for me, this is a big red light or red flag that there is something wrong out there. And most likely, people don't understand, they are not aware, they need to be educated about the huge benefits of using AI in almost everything, but especially in pricing, and they need to prioritize it more than they have right now. And this is why I wanted to do this course. And again, thanks to the PPS and you, Kevin, for this opportunity to identify this problem, issue, paradox, and help fix it to some extent, obviously. But I think that awareness is at least the first step towards fixing it.
Understood. And thank you for the description of that paradox there. And you're absolutely right. Pricing people are often undertrained, underappreciated, undercompensated, in spite of the fact of the great influence that we as professionals can have on our organization's strength and profitability and margins and the good things to come there. So you're correct. That is quite a paradox. That's something that PPS members, of course, are very familiar with on a very close basis, of course, because that's their jobs day to day, where they have this outsized importance on the company's success, but also they are often underappreciated, undercompensated, undertrained. They don't have the tools. And so that's what our organization and others in our field, of course, try to do is we try to get them the tools there, which is, of course, why we're very happy about your course and about the information that you're giving us there. So thank you so much for that. And George, another thing that you mentioned is AI is shifting from hype to practical applications. So, where are you seeing the biggest breakthroughs when we talk about AI being used in pricing? Who is taking advantage of it?
Well, as Gardner said, AI price optimization is not just valuable, but also feasible. So they know better, and they have seen, as we all have seen, practical examples of AI applications in pricing. There are numerous of success stories from companies like mine, for instance, and other vendors out there. But I will mention a couple of examples that are highly visible, and we have all used them or seen them. Price optimization, I think it's the most common sense example of AI in pricing. And it could be optimizing prices to reach a better revenue, to maximize your revenue or profits, profitability, or any other indicator that matters for the company. The second thing that, again, it's very, very visible. We've seen it all of the time when we try to book our airplane tickets or we buy something from Amazon. So it's dynamic pricing. And this is when we have varying suggestions and prices based on market indicators, supply demand dynamics, and several other things. I think that's an emerging field, emerging although it started from the previous century, to be honest. But now it's highly popular because of AI and because of the use of these highly visible tools like from Amazon and other and airline tickets and all these things. But there are other areas also that perhaps are not so popular but are extremely important, and they are rising in interest. And we have evidence about how value and there are and their benefits, like price predictions or creating what-if scenarios based on price and other market factors. Product bundling, AI can help on that a lot. Sometimes people use conjoint analysis for that, and they don't understand that beneath that there is a simplistic, but there is an AI layer that helps analyze the information. There are other AI systems that are even more sophisticated, and they can do that for product bundling. And the last thing that I wanted to mention, because this is a side benefit of price optimization, but it's extremely helpful, is segmentation. Because in order to do price optimization, you need to identify, in many cases, not in all cases, groups of customers or countries or anything, segments that behave in the same way price-wise. They have the same price sensitivity. So you segment based on price sensitivity, which by definition is the most important way that you can segment your market, and you can get that with AI tools. Again, it's not so as visible as other things like dynamic pricing or standard price optimization, but I think it's here to stay and very, very important.
Excellent. Thank you, George. And segmentation, of course, as you mentioned, is very key to pricing professionals, to revenue managers. That's something that essentially we have to do in order to perform the best for ourselves, for our careers, and for our companies as well. And of course, as you mentioned, also AI can be very good at recognizing the patterns, at grouping things together, and can be a very big bonus in segmentation, in addition to the other things that you mentioned there, such as optimization and doing what-if analysis as well. So there are a lot of different applications. So thank you for the information there. And one more question here. I know that predictive AI is one area that you are especially knowledgeable in, and predictive AI seems to be playing more of a leading role when we talk about some of the applications that we're seeing right now. Can you explain the value of predictive AI to someone who is just starting out in pricing or someone who is just starting to use it in their work?
Yeah, I will do that with an example because I think it's easier this way. So let's imagine a case where you have a product, it sells good and nicely, you have a good market share and so on and so forth, but you're not happy with its profitability. You would like to have a bit better price. So what you do sometimes, you experiment. So you start increasing slightly your price and you see if this has an effect on your profits. If your profits increase, you continuously increase your price until it doesn't anymore. When you reach a maximum point, when after that, your profits start declining. Practically, what you have done is manually optimizing your pricing to maximize your profit. It could have been your revenue and so on and so forth. But you need to experiment manually in order to do that. With predictive AI, you don't have to experiment yourself because predictive AI does exactly the same thing and it analyzes existing sales data. So you don't have to expose yourself. With the experimentation, you can use your existing sales data with varying prices and so on and so forth. And the system will identify the patterns, the dynamics, pricing, sales dynamics, and in the end, create a system, an AI model that can predict your sales performance based on your pricing. And based on that, it can optimize prices and so on and so forth. And even more, it can do something better. It can factor in additional factors, additional drivers. So imagine the previous example with your experimentation, if you change your price, but at the same time, your competitors change their prices, or you had tariffs, or you had inflation, or you had macro things changing in the market. So this is even more complex for the human brain to process. Usually, if we have more than 2 or 3 dimensions, it's almost impossible to process it manually. But predictive AI is specifically designed for this. So it can factor in tens of different indicators and understand which indicator is the most important and their weight into defining sales performance in the end. So predictive AI can do all these things that we do instinctively and manually, but can do it faster, quicker, better, in a more sophisticated way, and factor in all the important factors and not just a couple.
Excellent. So predictive AI sounds like it's a great tool given the macroeconomic environment that we are in now in various parts of the globe. So it sounds like a great, useful thing for us to consider for right now with all of the extra dimensions and all of the extra things that are coming into play for pricing people and for revenue managers. So thank you for the information there. That was great. And what we're going to do right now, we are enjoying our conversation with Mr. George Boretos. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, but please stay with us. The Let's Talk Pricing podcast with Mr. George Boretos will be right back.
We're heading to Las Vegas this October 21st through 24th for PPS Profitable, pricing's preeminent conference. 4 days of bold strategies, practical tools, and real-world solutions to help you boost margins, lead with confidence, and accelerate your career. Connect with pricing leaders, sharpen your skills, and leave ready to make an immediate impact. Early bird pricing ends September 19th, so don't miss your chance to save. And if you're bringing your team, be sure to check out our bundled group rates for even more value. Secure your spot today at pricingsociety.com/PPSLV25.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Pricing. We are talking about the AI and pricing paradox and opportunity for first movers with our guest, Mr. George Boretos, CEO of FutureUP, and a top 50 thought leader in AI and a top voice in predictive analytics as well. So, George, we're going to continue with a couple good questions, and this has been great because I'm learning a lot. But I've heard a lot of our members, PPS members from around the world, talk about AGI and about futuristic AI. And Your course, I believe, focuses on what's already available, but can you give us an example of how AI is being applied successfully in pricing today?
Yeah, and it's important to keep our feet on the ground because AGI may come or not, but this is not important. The important thing is how we can create value today based on practical AI tools that exist as we speak and are used all over the world. There are a few examples that are highly visible, so I will start with this. First of all, with airlines, because this is something that we are using every day to book our flights. And what perhaps we don't understand, but we pricing people and AI people know, is that there is an AI system for price optimization, dynamic price optimization that is running under the hood. It takes into consideration various factors. It could be competitors' prices, it could be the profile of the customer or the country of origin, the IP address, or things like that, or market conditions, or anything else. And in the end, dynamically, it changes prices. And we see that if you check for a specific flight today and then tomorrow and the day after tomorrow and so on and so forth, you see prices continuously changing as if you were at the stock exchange or something like that. Then you have Amazon, which is a great example again of dynamic pricing. With Amazon, it's perhaps even worse because even if you are the same person at the same time checking for the same book or any other product, and if you check through your laptop, desktop, mobile device, you might find a different price. So they take into consideration every tiny detail of your profile in order to process it and dynamically adjust their prices. And of course, this is AI based. And so these are tools that we use them all of the time. And something which is newer, but it's out there and used extensively is Uber. So Uber used obviously an AI dynamic pricing, but it's famous for its surge pricing. Surge pricing means that if you have a traffic jam, for instance, and there are not so many taxis available and you want to go from point A to point B, then in full transparency, Uber will inform you that the price has increased by X times or X% or whatever because of that. If you choose to get this right, then you will pay more, but at least you will find a taxi. It has been highly successful for Uber. These are all very visible examples because we are using them because these are B2C, business to consumer examples. That doesn't mean that we don't have examples in the B2B world, but they are less visible because it's for the smaller business community and not for everyone to see. And we have great price optimization deployments in companies like BAS, for instance, Rio Tinto, UPS, DHL, and there are many successful examples. Some of these examples are known and some of these examples are not known because the customers just do it. They enjoy the benefits of AI in pricing, but they don't speak about it because they want to retain the competitive advantage for them. So this is why B2B success is not so visible, but believe me, it's there and it's great.
Oh, I definitely believe you. And I know that that's one of the, I would say, basic cultural things amongst pricing people, particularly in B2B, is they want to be very, very good at their job, but often that entails not saying to everyone that they are very, very good at their job. Because your customers, your competitors, and your marketplace are always out there as well. So it's an interesting, I think, cultural part of the business world where we want to be very, very good, but we don't necessarily want to have a trumpet or a large instrument or a large megaphone and announce that to the world. But from your experience, what are the biggest hurdles that companies face when they try to implement AI in their pricing functions?
Well, I would say that for AI in pricing, the most important problem and issue that has been documented in several studies is data or lack of data at the required form in order to be used by AI. The second most important issue, and again, this is documented by studies, is fear of being replaced with the pricing person or someone else or being replaced by AI. In my mind, these are both myths. to some extent, they're true. Yes, we might have problems with data, and we might be replaced if we don't do certain things, and so on and so forth. But this is not the main issue. The main issue and showstopper for most companies for implementing AI in pricing is that they don't know where to start from. They don't know how to begin. They think of all the issues involved. We need data, we need processes, we need people alignment, we need the world. And obviously, if you try to fix everything, including some of the problems that you had, regardless of AI deployments and so on and so forth, obviously it's a huge exercise. You will never start. Instead, they should do something different. They should start small. Find the first target. That's the most important thing. To find the first quick win, the first target that it's easily feasible. So don't start from a complex product, but use a smaller one, a simpler one, where you do have some data. And if you don't have for all countries, then limit your initiative in some countries where you have something. But start. It's important to start, do the first step, and then continuously learn, adapt, because it's a learning process. This process never ends. It will mature eventually when you have learned a lot, but you need to learn first of all, and for that, you need to experiment. I like to use Nike's motto for that because I love it. Just do it. I mean, don't over-engineer things, but just do it, and eventually you will find the right path that will lead you into bigger deployments and to perfect everything, but you can't do it from day one. That's the biggest problem for most companies.
Understood, and thank you. And it kind of comes back to human nature, where with a lot of big projects, sometimes the first step is the hardest. Sometimes we have to overcome that initial fear of change and the initial inertia of the way that things are going. And basically, you have to take that first leap. It will not be perfect, but you can build upon that and continue to iterate and improve with every change and continue to do better there. So thank you for the explanation there. And one more question for you here, please. So, George, you make the case that right now is a key moment, for first movers. So, what makes the timing of right now so important? And what advantage can companies gain by acting quickly?
Well, there are a couple of things. It's like a perfect storm, but a positive perfect storm for pricing and AI in pricing. First of all, because pricing right now is in the spotlight. Why is that? You have tariffs, you have inflation, you have fluctuating cost of materials, you have supply chains disrupted, you have all these things that affect pricing and are affected by pricing. So this puts a lot of focus on pricing for the first time after many, many years. So that's a great moment and a great opportunity to leverage pricing. The second thing is AI. Obviously, AI is in the spotlight for at least a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, especially after the launch of ChatGPT. It became mainstream, so everybody is talking about that. Now, why all these are important and interesting? Because people in companies, top management, CEOs, directors, all these guys, they're trying to figure out with AI, they understand that it's important, and they try to figure out where and how to apply it. It could be pricing, but it could be a number of other different directions or initiatives. So I think it's a great opportunity to leverage. Why? Because pricing people should, first of all, generate the first initiative for AI in pricing, price optimization, or anything else. First of all, to gain a competitive advantage against their competitors, exactly as the paradox that we explained. AI-based price optimization is extremely valuable, but it's not used by many out there, by many companies out there. So if you start first, then you have a first mover's advantage. If you don't do it, then someone else has this first mover advantage. So it's great for the company and a great opportunity for pricing in the company to start an initiative with AI. But that's the external competition. There is also an internal competition within the companies. And this happens why? Because pricing doesn't have a big share of voice within companies. It's still an emerging function, an emerging department and field. So that means that if pricing people don't do something about AI, because AI is disrupting things and it's an opportunity to change relative relationships and power within the company. If you don't do something about AI and marketing takes a lead, or sales, or I don't know, any other department, you lose a great opportunity. You should instead lead the change of your company into the AI era. And this way you will gain more attention to yourself, obviously, to your department. You will increase your share of voice. And at the same time, you will do good for your company. It will be great for your company. I think it's all about pricing leadership. And this is a great opportunity to leverage both pricing and AI to lead your way into the AI era and establish yourself and pricing within the organization.
All right, so we heard it here. So for pricing leaders and future pricing leaders and pricing managers to come, this is your great opportunity to take advantage of a great new tool that's going to help your company out. So with that, we are going to take another short break for our sponsors. But everyone, please stay with us. We'll be back with more Let's Talk Pricing with Mr. George Boretos. And George, thank you so much. We'll be right back.
This October 21st through 24th, PPS Profitable in Las Vegas is all about you, the pricing professional ready to navigate today's challenges and lead with confidence. In just 4 days, you'll gain the strategies, tools, and connections to drive margin growth, strengthen your influence, and future-proof your career. Early bird pricing ends September 19th, and our group rates make it easy to bring your whole team so you can cover more ground and return with a shared plan. Make the investment in yourself. Visit pricingsociety.com/ppslv25 to register.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Pricing podcast, everyone. We are learning a lot about AI from Mr. George Boretos. And George, I have a few more questions for you here. But first of all, we've talked a lot about how AI can be a great opportunity for pricing organizations, for revenue management and related fields. But let me ask you this. Are there particular types of organizations, and we can think of their size, their industry, their vertical, their structure, are there types of organizations that are best positioned to gain the benefits from AI, specifically in pricing?
Well, that's another myth that pricing is just for a few sectors, let's say for the retail sector, or it's for just big companies who have the budget or the experience or anything else. But that's a myth. The answer is yes and no. And why is that? The yes part first. If the question is if any company could benefit by introducing an AI initiative in pricing, the answer is definitely yes. All companies can benefit from either improving their pricing or using AI to improve their pricing. They will see different benefits in type and magnitude, depending on their structure, the industry, and their size. For instance, if you are a smaller company or a smaller product, obviously there is more potential to increase X-fold. So you could double, for instance, your revenue. But if you are a bigger company, obviously you cannot double your revenue, but you can increase by a few percentage points, which is more than enough because this is worth hundreds of millions, possibly, if you are a big company. So you have different things to gain, but definitely you have substantial things to gain, usually in profitability, in growth, and everything that matters in companies.
Let me ask you a little bit about the human being and AI collaboration. This is a theme in a lot of your work, and also it is a section of your course with us as well. So what does a human AI collaboration look like in a practical pricing setting?
I get this question a lot, to be honest. It comes from two types of people. Sometimes it's from people who are afraid that they will be replaced by AI. And to the other end is some people that feel that AI can go to autopilot, it can take over the pricing function or something else, and it doesn't need to be attended or monitored or anything else. Both cases are extremes and wrong. The right way is collaboration, human AI collaboration. And think of AI and humans like Formula One drivers and cars. So the car is the AI. Obviously, it's the technology, is the best technology out there. But would you trust a Formula One car me to drive it or an average driver out there? You're laughing because obviously you wouldn't and you shouldn't. Or the other way around, if you had a great Formula driver, let's say Hamilton or someone like that, driving a small car, obviously, you need both to win. And this is something that Formula One knows it very, very well. We in the AI space and the pricing space, we haven't discovered it yet or realized it yet, but we do need both. AI is great in what? Is great in number crunching, in analyzing vast amounts of data. This is what it does best. It doesn't have any common sense. It doesn't have any instincts. People do. And people understand, even without all the necessary data, with limited or sometimes with no data at all, with their instincts, they realize what's the right direction. So in order to even start training your model, you need direction from people. And afterwards, when you start deploying the system and getting price suggestions and you see the results, you need people to monitor continuously for strange behavior. We have many, many cases where strange things happen that common sense would have immediately spotted that this is problematic from a person. And there is one final thing that in the end, regardless of how the AI performs and what it does, how it's trained and so on and so forth, in the end, a person is accountable for the outcome. So someone is to blame if someone goes south, or someone is to get the credit if something goes great with the AI system. It's not the AI system. So definitely within this equation, you have humans and AI at the same time. So it's not one against the other or one or the other. It's definitely both. Otherwise, you will see disaster.
Absolutely. A great explanation, and thank you for that. So it's a combination of the human being, common sense, all of the inner workings in our brain, in combination with the tool that can do better at number crunching and do better at some facets of the issue at hand better than a human brain can. So that makes perfect sense. So thank you for the explanation there. And George, we'll end with one final question here. Since AI is here to stay, what do you see as the next evolution in artificial intelligence when we think about it as a pricing tool? So how can everyone who's joining us today for the Let's Talk Pricing podcast, how can we stay ahead of what's coming down the road as well?
Well, there are a couple of areas that we'll see them emerging that will dominate the market, at least in my mind, the following years. The obvious thing is to say that predictive AI, which is mostly responsible for pricing initiatives, AI pricing initiatives, will evolve and be better as time passes. Better models, better pricing information, and so on and so forth. But that's the obvious thing. The less obvious thing is that there is a trend of using domain intelligent AI systems. Most people have heard about black boxes, AI black boxes. So AI is powerful, but it's also something that you cannot explain. You cannot understand what is happening under the hood. Why is that? Because these are general purpose AI tools. They can be used in pricing, but it is more difficult. If you use instead an econometric model in combination with some general purpose AI components, that's better because the econometric part is based on economic theory. And why not use economic theory, which has been proven right all these years, and you have a vast amount of knowledge out there that's been used even before AI was invented and quite successfully. So we will see this combination of econometric intelligence with AI together, forming a better model which can be explained and it's more business friendly. The other thing that we will see, and we have already seen it in practice, is dynamic adjustment. So there is price optimization that may be static. Well, we optimize prices and that's it. And then it's a dynamic pricing that optimizes continuously prices based on varying market, macro, or other indicators. And that's important. Why? Because we live in times where volatility is the norm. And it's not something that happens every now and then. So we need to be able to continuously adjust, to continuously generate predictive scenarios based on future trends and what is going to happen. It's not a static world, at least not anymore. It's a continuously evolving and sometimes violently, sometimes more smoothly, but it's continuously evolving. So pricing should evolve as well.
All right, terrific. So, Mr. George Boretos, George, thank you so much for joining us today for this issue of the Let's Talk Pricing podcast. You've given us a lot to think about AI and how it is a tool that seems to be very well suited for the macroeconomic challenges that a lot of us are facing now. It is these times, and as you mentioned, B2B companies, some of us have gone from one price increase per year to once per quarter, a couple times per year, and some even once every month now. So with the change that we are showing, certainly we all have to take advantage of the tools that are out there in order to help us do that as well as we can. So thank you very much for the insights there. And for those of us listening today who want to learn more about George, his work with PPS, his online pricing course with us, of course, you can check out George, look for FutureUP. You can also, of course, check out pricingsociety.com for George's course. And also, we'll have a lot of other information for our members worldwide. You can also check out our events coming up in a few months. We will be in Las Vegas for our North American PPS Profitable Conference, October 21st through 24th. We will be in Barcelona for our EMEA PPS Profitable Conference from the 2nd to the 5th of December. And we will have lots more information and things coming for you and for your team as well. So thanks everyone for tuning in.